All right, so let's focus now on what's going to be a really big talking point for the next day or so at least. Government schools are due to reopen on the 27th of January, but there are discussions underway already about whether it's safe to reopen them in hotspot areas. Now, on Friday morning, that's tomorrow, the Basic Education Minister is going to hold a briefing on the state of readiness for the opening of schools. Of course, this comes as we hear the news that a marker who was working from the Jeppe Boys Marking Centre here in Johannesburg passed away today from COVID-19. I'm joined now by the Executive Director of Teacher Union NAPTOSA, Basil Manuel. Basil, thanks so much for joining us. So I know that your union has met with the Department of Basic Education. You've also said you will support a postponement of reopening until the second peak has passed. Are you able to give us more information about the discussions you've had with the ministry and whether it involved all the unions?
Sally, good evening and thanks for having me. At first, yes, it wasn't a discussion with NAPTOSA, it was a discussion with all the unions. And in fact, a whole lot of other stakeholders were also consulted. And NAPTOSA has always been at one with the idea that schools must reopen and the safest place for children to be is in schools, provided, of course, all the health and safety measures are met and that we listen to the science. And now the science has come out and said to us, we are nearing the peak of the second wave and it may not be wise to be opening schools at this stage. Added to that, we have, of course, the fear and anxiety of membership who are living in communities where there have been an untold number of deaths. Everybody now knows somebody that has passed away. And this informed our decision to support a recommendation, and all the unions were at one with it, that we said we need to delay the opening of schools until the peak has passed. And we made that recommendation together with the Education Department, and of course they were taking it to the Command Council today. So tomorrow the Minister will talk to us about the outcome thereof and the exact dates that this will take effect and how long it will be. However, we are worried about schooling and we are worried about disruption to schooling, and especially the fact that we've had a bad year last year. We have a lot to catch up, but nothing at the expense of lives, particularly this time around, where we see that the youth are even more susceptible than they were before. Last year, we had very few children being infected. This year, it's a different story, particularly in the high schools, and that worries us even more.
Yeah, and this new variant does seem to be certainly more infectious and more youngsters are getting it. Basil, I just want to pick up on something you said. Are you telling us tonight that the Minister is going to postpone the opening of schools tomorrow?
Well, we certainly hope so, because that was the sense we got. But I can't speak for the Minister, and the Minister was taking this, we didn't meet the Minister, we met the DG, was taking this to the Command Council, because the scientists, the very same scientists that are advising the Command Council have publicly now said to us that this is not the time to be opening schools. The World Health Organization has given us guidance to say that when one of the peaks, when the virus reaches a peak, that it is advisable to limit movement of people. Now consider this, Sally. We have 400,000 teachers. We have 13 million children in all forms of schools. And all these people on the move, surely that can't be good for containment of the virus. And it's based on that. It's not based on creating a longer holiday, not at all, because already teachers are under pressure because of the matriculants, because of grade ones that we want to get started. And this time around, it's even a little more difficult. Remember, we have no relationship with the children yet because we haven't met them. New classes, new teachers, etc. Added to that, the pressure, the psychological pressure on teachers, arriving in the first week to talk about how many of them haven't returned and their own deaths. And then, of course, children coming to school with the stories, my mummy is not coming back. And who does that fall on? It falls on the teacher. So it's a tough time ahead for us, psychologically as well as emotionally. And we've got to prepare our teachers for that. And if we can do this after the peak, then even better.
And, you know, we're still to get an understanding of how many pupils and teachers have become infected since the festive season, and how that might affect schooling. So, as you say, that there's a strong push from the unions that this needs to happen. The science is supporting that it's unwise to open schools at this time, and you're telling us that you're getting a sense from the department that they're pretty much on the same page. But of course we have to wait to hear tomorrow. And then today the news of a marker who was working out of the Jeppe High marking station was found collapsed in their quarters and then taken to hospital on Tuesday and died this morning. I mean, this is really, really tragic, but it hammers home yet again how very deadly this virus can be. We know that marking is due to wrap up by the 22nd of January for the matric papers. Do you think it's going to be done on time?
Sally, the hope is still there, and let me sympathize with the family of this marker. It's really tragic, but you know, we've been worried about this. And when you see what has happened at Escort, where now we are told that there are many more markers infected because of one person having been infected, and that poor lady also passed on. And now the last story was that there are almost 25 people. It's an outbreak. Now, if this is an indication of what could happen in a school, where there's also a dense environment, then we are really worried. About getting finished, there are a number of marking centres and subjects that are down from the optimum number of markers. But we are assured that enough time has been built in to get the marking completed by the 22nd. If it is not in the book of Naptosa, it is not a train smash. It's not the end of the world. We'd rather the job be done properly, the job be done safely, and if we need an extra day or so, it doesn't matter to us. Then that is what must happen. But certainly, the marking has gone much better than we could have expected. Naptosa cautioned about marking, and when we saw the large number, almost 2,700 markers in total withdrawing, we saw the panic. However, it has gone much better, and I must certainly acknowledge all the people involved, the marking centres as well as the teachers, being far more responsible, because that is what we put on in their laps. We've said to them, you will determine whether you are safe or not. You will determine when you go home at night or to live wherever you are living, because the marking centres are at all different places and many people are boarding somewhere. You will keep your circle small or non-existent, and that is the only safe way. And many of them have been doing this. So I want to acknowledge that. However, there will always be the one that doesn't, and that is the person that endangers everybody else.
Yeah, and it's so very difficult. We also hear stories of people taking every precaution and still getting this virus. So thank you very much for chatting to us. That's the Executive Director of Teachers Union Naptosa, Basil Manuel. We know that the Basic Education Minister is going to be holding a public briefing tomorrow morning. I think it's at 10 o'clock. And basically what the unions are saying is they are expecting the opening of schools on the 27th to be postponed for at least 2 weeks. We'll wait and see. Still ahead.